Sen. Joni Ernst releases list of federal agencies with high employee no-show rates post-COVID. December 11, 2023. Just the news. Senator Joni Ernst, RIA. By Charlotte Hazard. With Christmas fast approaching, Sen. Joni Ernst, Iowa put out a naughty list of government agencies that have high no-show rates of employees who have not returned to the office after the COVID-19 pandemic ended. According to Ernst's list, the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Social Security Administration top the list with just 7% office occupancy rates. When COVID-19 hit the world at the start of 2020, more than one-third of U.S. office jobs switched to teleworking. Prior to the pandemic, only about 6% of those employed worked mostly from home. While a lot of the American workforce has resumed in-person work, the federal government is lagging behind. Taxpayers shouldn't be forced to foot the bill for empty buildings, Ernst said in a statement last week. Forgive me for sounding like the Grinch, but this Christmas, I'm calling on Biden's bureaucrats to deck the agency halls with federal workers or sell off unused space. Other agencies on Ernst's list include the Treasury Department, Justice Department, Commerce Department, and the Department of Homeland Security. The data shows that those offices have the highest office occupancies between 30% to 49%. The Small Business Administration has a 9% occupancy rate and the General Services Administration has an 11% occupancy rate. In April 2023, the Biden administration released detailed guidance that encouraged federal employees to return to in-person work since the public health emergency ended in May. According to a federal survey that came out last month, 70% of federal employees still work from home to some degree. Earlier this year, the water supply in at least 6 federal buildings was contaminated by the bacterium that causes Legionnaire's disease. Investigators told the Washington Times that teleworking may be a big contributor to this due to the lack of people in the buildings. COVID's been over for years, where are the workers? Ernst asked. Just the New reporter Charlotte Hazard is a 2022 Liberty University alumni who graduated with a major in journalism and a minor in government. Photo, Sen. Joni Ernst, by Sen. Joni Ernst. Washington, TND, it's not just Santa. On Capitol Hill, one senator made her own naughty list, with a focus on federal agencies and just how much of the workforce has returned to the office in the post-COVID era. One picture captured the moment, prompting comments from around the country. A federal worker bragging on Instagram, "My office for the next hour," showing himself teleworking in the bathtub. The employee? A team leader in charge of scheduling for the Atlanta Veterans Administration, which has some of the worst wait times in the country. One veteran in the midst of a mental health crisis called 10 times over a 3-month period and could not get the care she needed, said Sen. Joni Ernst, Iowa, in an interview in her Capitol Hill office, where she showed us her naughty list of government agencies with the lowest rates of in-office workers. She told us that at the top of the naughty list are Housing and Urban Development and the Social Security Administration, with just 7% of workers reporting to the office. The Social Security Administration recently came under fire for $23 billion in overpayments with average wait times for callers of 36 minutes. In 2013, it was 10 minutes. So we have seniors and people waiting on disability work to be done by the Social Security Administration and they're not answering their calls, Sen. Ernst said. Her team also found the Department of Defense was at about 25% and the Department of Homeland Security at 31%. That is still not 50% of the workforce in the building making these huge decisions. When it comes to national security, we need people that are able to collaborate together, and that does not happen, Ernst said. Ernst said government workers have called her office to complain about the lack of productivity, more than 7 months after the COVID-19 public health emergency officially ended, calling the millions in tax dollars spent to pay for empty offices a waste. We need these folks to come back and occupy these buildings back in Washington, D.C., so we have proper oversight of those workers, or we need to sell off all of this unused office space, Ernst said. Ernst tells top, naughty list agencies to use or sell underutilized office space. Senate Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee ranking member Joni Ernst, R. Iowa, says agencies still aren't making effective use of their office space. Jory Heckman at Jeckmanft. December 6, 2023, 2:22 p.m. 4 minutes read. Federal employees have been returning to the office more regularly in recent months, and agencies are in the process of offloading office space they no longer need. But the top Republican on the Senate Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee says agencies still aren't making effective use of their office space. If we're not going to use it, let's lose it, committee ranking member Joni Ernst, R. Iowa, said in a press conference Tuesday, unveiling a naughty list of federal agencies with the lowest occupancy rates. While it's not the night before Christmas quite yet, there's not a creature stirring, not even a mouse, in the halls across this city, Ernst said. Find out how senior IT and cyber officials are working to speed up the ability to make data-driven decisions, especially at the edge, in our new ebook, sponsored by Mattermost. Download today. Data from the Government Accountability Office shows the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Small Business Administration both had a 7% average utilization rate in early 2023, the lowest rate of all other major agencies. HUD and SBA officials told GAO their headquarters buildings were undergoing renovation during the data collection period, contributing to a decrease in attendance. The GAO data shared by Ernst's office provides a more granular, agency-by-agency look at federal office space utilization. The watchdog, in a preliminary report issued this summer, used aggregated metrics to cluster agencies by their average utilization rate. U.S.A., in a report this summer, found all 24 of the agency headquarters offices it reviewed had excess space, including 17 that had an average building capacity of just 25%. If we're not going to fill up, we're not going to go actually work within these agencies, then maybe we need to get rid of this space, because it does cost a lot to rent these buildings in Washington, D.C. or own them. So if we're not going to bring workers back, folks, let's get rid of this, Ernst said. The U.S.A. data shows the estimated 3-month average space utilization statistics for the 24 Chief Financial Officer Act agencies for a sample period that includes 1-week periods in January, February, and March 2023. Sign up for our daily newsletter so you never miss a beat on all things federal. Ernst told Federal News Network that she'll continue to push federal agencies to deck the halls with federal workers or sell off unused office space. The data comes with a couple of caveats. U.S.A.'s data snapshot, in many cases, doesn't reflect a government-wide push for the federal workforce to return to the office more often. Many federal employees have been heading back to the office more regularly this fall, or are preparing to work in person more in early 2024, after the Office of Management and Budget directed agencies to increase meaningful in-office work. SBA, however, directed employees to return to the office sooner than most other federal agencies. It directed employees represented by the American Federation of Government Employees to return to the office for at least 2 days per 2-week pay period, starting in September 2022. Meanwhile, bringing more federal employees back to the office won't solve the government's office space problems. U.S.A. also notes that utilization rates aren't an exact metric for tracking how many federal employees are working in the office. The watchdog defines utilization as a ratio of a building's capacity and the extent to which an agency uses that capacity. U.S.A. states that utilization rate differs from employee attendance because a building's capacity is based on the size of the building, not the number of people assigned to work there. Read more. Facilities, construction. All assigned staff could go to a building, and it could still be underutilized if the building has more space than it needs, U.S.A. wrote. U.S.A. said attendance statistics represent the average daily attendance for the sample period, but that data varied for individual days. According to U.S.A., the Office of Personnel Management has indicated information about the relative concentration of federal personnel in any given building may raise security risks for federal personnel. In recognition of those security concerns, the Defense Department gave U.S.A. data on attendance at the Mark Center in Alexandria, Virginia, not the Pentagon. U.S.A. identifies the Mark Center as DOD's administrative headquarters. OPM told GAO that additional non-agency staff occupies its headquarters building, and its numbers include those workspaces and attendance. The federal government's landlord, the General Services Administration, recently told lawmakers about efforts to expedite the sale and disposal of excess federal office space. GSA Administrator Robin Carnahan told the House Oversight and Accountability Committee last month that her agency is laser-focused on right-sizing the federal footprint. With agencies, including GSA, embracing the benefits of a long-term hybrid and remote workforce, Carnahan said her agency sees an opportunity to reduce the government's real estate footprint by up to 30% in the coming years. Shrinking the federal office space portfolio to that degree, she added, would save the federal government about $60 billion over a decade. Right now, agencies across the government are rethinking how much space they actually need. And while GSA doesn't make space decisions for agencies, we do work closely with them to leverage our team's expertise to help agencies plan and whenever possible to downsize, Carnahan told the committee. GSA is already stepping up efforts to get rid of federal buildings and properties that agencies no longer need. Last month, it announced it's putting 23 additional federal properties through its disposition process. Copyright 2025 Federal News Network. All rights reserved. This website is not intended for users located within the European Economic Area. December 5, 2023. Ernst unveils naughty list of no-show federal agencies. Washington, today, U.S. Senator Joni Ernst, R. Iowa, exposed that, almost 4 years after COVID-19 temporarily closed federal buildings, not a single government agency is occupying even half their office space, and called on Biden's bureaucrats to deck the agency halls with federal workers or sell off unused facilities. As taxpayers are picking up the cost of vacant offices, Ernst unveiled a naughty list of these no-show federal agencies topped by the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Social Security Administration, both of which are using just 7% of their space. Image 002. Click here or above to watch. Background. In August, Ernst demanded investigations into 24 federal departments and agencies to determine the impact of telework on the delivery and response times of services. Following her advocacy, the General Services Administration's (G.S.A.) Inspector General responded to her request and is currently considering an audit to examine whether G.S.A. has appropriately evaluated its physical space needs and utilization. A few months later, the G.S.A. announced it would downsize 3.5 million square feet of federal buildings, which would save taxpayers over $1 billion. Ernst also increased accountability for federal telework abuse by passing an amendment to hold the Biden administration accountable for the cost to taxpayers and the impact on services from continued remote work by Washington bureaucrats.